Listen, I don't care what y'all say, but Bigfoot is real. To start off, we have the Colorado sighting. In October 2023, a Bigfoot video filmed in Colorado went viral online. Sensen Parker and his wife Shannon recently took a trip through Colorado to celebrate their 10th anniversary. They boarded the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad and saw something unexpected. Bigfoot. Now the video, which was taken by a fellow passenger and posted online by Sensen, shows a tall, brownish creature walking and squatting before it blends into its surroundings. Now the footage is zoomed in, making for a grainy video. Now to him, Sensen said, the creature didn't look like a human, it didn't move like a person, he said. It looked more like an ape, but it didn't walk like an ape so much. He added that the creature's arms seemed too long to be human, with hands reaching down to its knees. It didn't look like anything I've ever seen before, he said. I don't think it was a hoax, and if it was a really good one. Up next, we have the Mississippi Woods sighting. A video that has resurfaced and gone viral seemingly shows a Sasquatch moving through the Mississippi woods. It was recorded and posted on YouTube back in 2015 by Josh Highcliffe. In the caption, Josh wrote, "I was out hunting hogs and wearing hunting camo and just sitting dead still waiting for it to get dark, and I hear a noise behind the tree I was sitting on. I thought it was the hogs, and when I got around, I could not believe my own eyes." He added there was this huge black thing crouched by a dead cypress about 50 yards away. I saw these shoulders and a head upright with hands. It looked like it was digging out a stump. My first instinct was to run. I did not even think of shooting. Then I know no one will believe me, but it was like everything slowed down. I was scared. I took my iPhone and started videotaping it. I heard a truck driving down the road and the thing stood up. I was trying to be dead quiet, and when it stood up, I could not control myself and ran. The stump was huge, and I guess the sucker was 7 feet tall. I am a hunter, and I'm pretty darn good at guessing size. Wow, that is crazy. Now let's just...
So just what the hell is going on here? I've said this many times on the channel, I do not speak Spanish. Can anyone tell me what these guys are yelling in this video? I'm guessing it's something like, holy crap, look at the size of that thing. That's a chonker of a snake. Oh no, my van, that sort of thing. That thing is so big, I wouldn't have been surprised if it crushed that vehicle like a plastic water bottle. How horrifying. It's like you're actually witnessing a scene from Jurassic Park play out right in front of your eyes. Sounds cool, but in real life, I mean, you can hear how panicked these folks are in the video, except for the one dude just casually walking by in the background. He had places to be, I guess. Here's where you never want to be though, in an anaconda's turf, the water. Sure, these things can slither around on land too, but I'm sure they're faster in the water. Well, this dude gets up close and personal with one, and at first it doesn't look all that frightening, but then you get a real sense of this thing's size. Take a look. First of all, we mostly see its head throughout the video, right? But when it starts swimming away, just look how thick the thing's body is, and of course, how long. Imagine being trapped in the water with that thing tangled around you. Like, good luck. Man, like, drowning is such a scary enough thing as is. I've nearly drowned like twice in my life, and I don't think the lifeguard at the community center pool would have been able to rescue me if I had a 15-foot anaconda wrestling with me underwater. There's a snake on my roof. Take a look at this. Well, that would be a pleasant sight to see, walking out your house for work in the morning. I think opening up my door to a wall of snow is bad, but I feel like this would be worse, just slightly more inconvenient. Would your boss believe you if you lived in this part of the world? Like, sorry, I'm not gonna make it in today. There's a basilisk just chilling on my roof. Honestly, I might die. I don't even know how this roof is holding that thing up. Anyway, scary video. Alright, this person is just way too close to this thing. This is a massive sized reticulated python spotted slithering around someone's pad. It looks like it might have wanted to check out this person's bike. And yeah, I get it, like you don't want it to ruin your ride, but there is no way I'd ever get this close to something like this, even though it makes for a great video and by extension, just one more thing for me to add to a list like this. One commenter asked if this snake could eat a human, to which I need to ask, did you actually watch the video or did you just read the description? Yes, that thing could definitely eat a person. Also, kind of looks like it's shedding, so it might be trying to find a hard surface to rub against to get its old layer of skin off, which you'd probably be able to build a crispy hammock out of, as gross as that would be. Alright, it's really not surprising that there are legends of giant river monsters like the Yakumama I discussed earlier when you see footage like this. Yeah, looks like a living dinosaur to me. Supposedly this footage was taken somewhere in the Amazon, where we can clearly see a very large anaconda crossing a river. And I am just really glad I live where I do sometimes. Sure, it gets cold, but at least that means that giant snakes like this aren't gonna show up at your door or on your roof, or at the lake where you're swimming, or in your garage where your motorcycle is parked, or at the construction site you're working at. There's virtually no threat of being choked to death by a giant snake, and I'm all for that. And we're starting off the list with the Alabama sighting. So I tried to throw in some recent sightings for this list because we've all seen the famous Patterson footage. It's cool, but good to change things up a bit. So this one was reported by an elderly couple in Claiborne County, Alabama, and was posted on the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization website. The witnesses stated, "My husband and I heard strange sounds for 2 nights in February of 2023 and laughed about how they sounded like the Bigfoot sounds on television shows. The 3rd night at dusk, we were in our carport looking into the woods that border our property in Halphin, Claiborne County, Alabama. We saw what looked like Bigfoot peeking around a tree at us. We watched it for approximately 5 minutes as it appeared to look at us from the left and then right of the tree trunk. I dismissed it as being a distortion within the trees and wind, turned to go into the house and looked back and distinctly saw what could only be Bigfoot running away. I yelled for my husband and he also saw it running away. It had our hearts beating wildly and the hair standing up on our arms. There was no mistaking what we saw." At our number 9 spot, we have our first piece of Squatch footage for you. In this clip, you can clearly see a very large, hairy creature strolling through a wooded area. Now, what I like about this one is the shape of the creature. If this is someone in a costume, it's a pretty good one. It doesn't have the proportions of a human. It's very gorilla-like. This is a thick Squatch too, packing some gains in the tushy area. But also the back is massive and its head is like hunched in front. With so many supposedly real Bigfoot sightings videos, like the quote-unquote Bigfoot, rarely looks like it's carrying the weight of a massive sized hominid. Usually Bigfoot videos just look very blurry to make sense of anything too, or when you do see the creature, it just lacks the bulk that's often reported in first-hand Bigfoot accounts, just like a person in a cheap gorilla suit. But this one doesn't look human. A solid video, even if it is a hoax. At number 8, we have the Minerva monster case. In 1978, in Minerva, Ohio, the Caton family reported encountering a large, Bigfoot-like creature near their home. Their account included rocks thrown at their house and the discovery of enormous footprints in their backyard. Their dog was also mysteriously died, just mauled. This was not an isolated incident though. Several neighbors and other residents in the area also claimed sightings of a similar hairy creature around that same time, and this series of encounters became widely known as the Minerva monster case, drawing significant media attention. Jim Shannon, a former Stark County sheriff who had responded to one of the Caton family's distress calls, expressed his belief in their reports, stating that they were terrified. "I will always believe them that they saw something. It's just, what did they see?" At number 7, we have another recent sighting, also posted to the BFRO, this time in Wisconsin. The sighting happened on May 28th, 2023. A woman had been driving down a road in the early morning in Oconto County when she spotted the creature. This area in northern Oconto County, Wisconsin, is mostly wooded with swamp near the Oconto River. As I neared the corner, I saw a black and brown large figure of a man that I thought may have been someone that broke down on the trail as it was walking south towards Peshtigo Brook Road. I stopped at the corner as I could not believe what I was looking at, trying to wrap my head around it and convince myself it was a man, as it was walking on 2 legs and had taken from what I saw about 10 steps toward me. However, there was no sound, no yelling for help or waving the arms, and no human-colored skin. It was in fact a dark black and brown figure with large legs and even at the base towards the feet. It was hairy. It was not a bear though, and it was not a human. I looked around the corner and could see in the distance down North Branch Road that a human was walking east towards me in that direction. I then looked back and the large black-brown figure went into the ditch and disappeared. I was convinced it had to be a Sasquatch. Number 6. Help, I think I saw a skunk ape. This video was posted to YouTube by Josh Highcliffe and is probably one of the most convincing Bigfoot, or in this case technically skunk ape, pieces of footage in recent years. The video was taken about 9 miles west of Tunica, Mississippi at around 6 p.m. in October of 2013. Josh had been hunting for hogs when he spotted the creature. He'd been sitting on a log waiting for the sun to go down when he heard strange noises coming from behind him, and when he turned around, he spotted this large, dark, furry creature digging out the stump of a dead tree. Now, I gotta say, I try to be skeptical when it comes to things like this. Cryptids, ghosts, whatever. But this video is pretty convincing. That looks like an animal messing around in the forest to me. Creepiest part is when the thing stands up and you see that it's way taller than you thought, and it was at this point that our cameraman was convinced that this was not a bear and decided to get the hell out of there. Number 5, Backyard Bigfoot. The following is a story shared to Reddit by user Bigfoot Watcher. Post is from 9 years back, and they wrote the following. 2 nights ago, my boyfriend went out to take the dogs out back. My one dog started barking like crazy right away. My boyfriend had a flashlight and quickly scanned the grass line where the woods start, where we normally see deer. Our house is bordered by woods. Something made him shine a bit higher, and he sees 2 eyes staring back at him, about 9 feet off the ground. As my boyfriend tries to hurry the dogs back inside, he sees the thing turn and casually walk back into the woods, like a man, with arms and shoulders. I've never seen my boyfriend so freaked out. He came inside and closed every single window and all the blinds, and refuses to let the dogs out in the backyard at night anymore. In hindsight, there have been a few instances in the past few weeks that we can't explain, like dogs' toys being down by the woods with bites taken out, but it was the placement of the toys and whatnot that makes us wonder. Also a grunt snort noise we heard recently. My boyfriend cannot get over the size of this thing and the fact that the eyes were so high off the ground. I asked him if he thought he saw Bigfoot, and he said after a minute or so of silence, if I wasn't a believer before, I sure as hell am one now. Next on the list, we have the nighttime Bigfoot. I'm not 100% sold on this next clip, but it is pretty harrowing at the same time. Check this out. So you have people filming in the woods in the middle of the night. They've obviously heard something because they're scanning the woods with their camera, trying to spot whatever it is. And then this pops up. A big, hairy Sasquatch creature with a really creepy looking face. One little touch I like about this video is that you actually see it blink. It definitely makes it more convincing. I feel like if I saw this, I wouldn't be sticking around though. After the creature trudges back into the trees, they just kind of stand there breathing heavily. But I don't know, maybe they were shocked, frozen in fear. Anyway, what do you think of this one? Let me know in the comments. At number 3, we have another account posted to the BFRO. This one happened in September of 2018 in Whitmore, California. The man described his experience as follows. I was driving up to work from Redding. I worked at a school in Whitmore, California, in Shasta County. That was only accessible from a logging road. As I was going up the mountain, I rounded a corner, and about 300 feet from me and maybe 400 feet from Tintago Lane, a tall, hairy creature, dark brown with some gray along the back shoulders, walking on 2 legs, crossed the road, which is wide enough for 2 cars to pass each other, in about 2 steps, and then was in the woods. The hair on the back of my neck instantly stood up, and I was terrified. I had my 11-month-old son in the back seat, and I drove to campus as quickly as I could. There were major wildfires in the area at this time. Maybe it was trying to get away from the fires, or incredibly healthy smoke. Several of my coworkers on that campus have had experiences as well. Alright, this next video was uploaded to the YouTube channel Beard Card in 2012 and has since received millions of views. A group of friends had gone camping in Provo Canyon. They'd seen some deer on a hill and went to get a closer look. There they spotted what they thought was a bear. You can hear them whispering to each other in the video. I mean, like, seeing a bear, that would obviously be pretty nerve-wracking as is. But then the thing stands up and once again becomes very clear that what they are looking at is not a bear. The thing is very wide. It doesn't look like it has the proportions of a human at all, at least not a regular sized one. It really, I don't know, just the idea of seeing something in the woods, you don't know what it is. This video really gets that across, and the reactions just seem genuine, like, oh, like they thought it was a bear the entire time, and then it stands up and they're like, okay, go. Anyway, coming in at number 1, we have the Harley Hoffman footage. I remember seeing this clip years ago. It was edited into an interview with Harley Hoffman, a Bigfoot explorer, researcher, enthusiast, I guess. I couldn't find the footage again until recently. This is footage that he captured. It's a pretty solid piece of footage too. You get a good glimpse of the creature. It doesn't look like just some guy in a cheap gorilla costume either. There actually looks like some musculature underneath the fur, much like the famous Patterson footage, which is why that footage is so famous. It doesn't look like just a guy in a suit. Now, there is some shaky cam going on here, but I have a hard time imagining if you actually came across a giant ape in the middle of the forest that you'd be calm enough to do some nice smooth Stanley Kubrick level of camera work, so that doesn't bother me too much. This big chonker was spotted in Brazil. Obviously, this is an anaconda, some of the largest snakes in the world. Not only are they long, but they're incredibly thick, very prehistoric looking animals. I mean, if I saw this, I would think the thing slithered right out of the Jurassic period. Just imagine having that thing wrap around you and slowly squeeze you to death. I say slowly, it would probably take like 30 seconds for that thing to squeeze the life out of me. Would you stand there filming it, or would you get the hell away from it? What you're looking at here is an African rock python. I know you don't really need me to tell you this, but it's a very big one. It was spotted by a man named Jason Moolman on a farm in Ballito, South Africa. Just look at how fast this thing moves, despite how large it is. These snakes can grow to be absolutely massive, easily reaching lengths of up to about 13 feet or about 4 meters, making them one of the longest snakes in Africa. It can take down prey much larger than itself, including antelope, warthogs, and even the occasional crocodile. What makes them even more impressive is how they use their surroundings. African rock pythons are incredibly versatile. They'll take shelter in caves, burrows, or even in abandoned termite mounds, making them hard to spot unless you know exactly where to look. And don't think they're limited to the ground either. These snakes are excellent climbers and can often be found lounging in trees, waiting for their next meal to wander by. This is a 34-foot, 990-pound anaconda that was discovered at a construction site in Brazil. Again, a giant-sized anaconda. I don't know if it's actually 34 feet. That's getting sorta close to the real-life length of a Titanoboa, which reached up to 50 feet long, but who the hell knows what's lurking in the Amazon. The more illegal logging they're doing out there, the more stuff they're gonna find. Now, unfortunately, I don't think they let this snake go. There's another video of what I believe is the exact same snake strapped down to some equipment with the cameraman panning across its body just to show how truly massive it is. It's impressive for sure, but it's sad the thing was killed like this. Next up, we have the battle of the century, cobra versus python. Which snake used to name countless 80s movie villain gangs will come out on top? Take a look. Well, the python appears to be winning at first. It's got its body coiled around the cobra's head, but then you notice the cobra has part of the python's body in its mouth. So if the python can choke out the cobra before getting sucked into the massive python's mouth, maybe it'll win. Unfortunately, the video ends before we get to find out who wins, and maybe that's because neither won. Maybe both snakes turned their attention to the person filming, just like the tagline for Alien vs. Predator said, no matter who wins, wins, we lose. If you're thinking this video is fake, or at the very least a rare instance, well, you'd be surprised. Fights between cobras and pythons have been known to happen before. In this brutal fight that happened in Thailand a couple years ago, a python had itself wrapped around a king cobra who managed to break free of its grasp before devouring the thing whole. So it happens. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, there's a creature that's been the stuff of legends for generations. The Yaku Mama. The name comes from the Quechua language, where Yaku means water and Mama, of course, means mother. So it translates to mother of the waters. This giant serpent is said to live in the deep rivers, lakes, and swamps of the Amazon, and it's a creature that's been talked about by indigenous cultures in countries like Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador. The Yaku Mama is often described as a massive serpent, sometimes said to be up to 160 feet long, and it's believed to be powerful enough to swallow entire boats or even small islands. People say it has the ability to consume anything within a 350-foot radius. The stories tell of its strength and size, but there's more. Some say it can shapeshift, control the weather, and even heal or harm those who encounter it. While different tribes have their own names for the creature, the tales all describe a giant river-dwelling snake. In modern times, some explorers have claimed to spot it, with one father-son team, Mike and Greg Warner, even saying they captured it on camera during an aerial survey of the rainforest. But most scientists think these stories may have been inspired by the fossilized remains of prehistoric serpents like the Titanoboa. Again though, the Amazon is massive. I would not be surprised if there was a giant serpent lurking somewhere deep in the forest.
Discuss the Owen Sound sighting. Ryan Willis and Joel Porter co-host a TV show called Sasquatch University, where they've got incredible sightings in Owen Sound. They started the Trent University Sasquatch Society, which zooms in scientists and others to talk to the Peterborough Club, hearing from all the top researchers in the Bigfoot community, said Willis, who is president. They've received reports, and quite credible ones too, which they thought would make a good episode for the show, he said. Now, their hunt was to be conducted just 4 minutes west of Owen Sound, where the encounter happened, Willis said. One had a road crossing sighting, and it was like behind a sign at the other side of the road. It didn't actually cross the road, clarified Porter. Now, the beast must have been 11 feet tall, given it was reported peeking over a 9 or 10-foot sign. Now, a separate local sighting came from someone who viewed the big fellow through a window, Porter added. Now, they weren't able to capture it on video, but they said they are determined to capture the proof. Moving on to the Provo Canyon sighting. There are many Bigfoot videos on YouTube, but one particular clip is from Provo Canyon, Utah. The video appears to show a large black animal hunched over in the trees, possibly feeding or foraging. Now, the camera zooms in to try to get a closer look, and a few seconds later, the great creature stands up on its 2 legs as if it's bipedal. Now, the video was posted on October 30th, 2012, and has amassed more than 7.6 million views on YouTube. Now, according to the account uploader, the pair were on a camping trip hoping to get a closer look at a deer on a hill. On our way up, we thought we saw a bear, until the monster stood up and looked right at us. We ran straight to the car after that, leaving our tent and everything behind. It's probably all still up there. Now we have the Minnesota Bigfoot. In October of 2023, there was a Bigfoot sighting in Minnesota. The people who saw it said this: "While my mother and I were grouse hunting up by Benna on 6 Mile Lake Road in the Mud Goose Management area, we both witnessed a Bigfoot. We were traveling and my mom said, 'Whoa, back up.' Down trail 2266 near the bend, we see a Bigfoot off the trail in the grassy ditch, and it slowly moved off the trail west to east. My mom asked me if it felt like it moved in super slow motion. I concurred. The ditch at the site was 3 feet down, and the grass at the side of the trail was 3 feet tall, and the upper torso was 3 to 4 feet showing above the grass, leading the Bigfoot to be approximately 8 to 10 feet tall. We drove to the spot and both noticed a strong sulfur or rotting vegetation. When I got out of the car, I immediately felt all the hair stand up on my body. I checked for any sign of footprints on the road, and I cannot see any due to the gravel being very packed down. There was a small bit of gravel disturbed in one spot near the west side of the road shoulder. We later got stopped by the conservation officer, and when we mentioned what we had seen and where it was, he remarked that's where people have reported seeing a Bigfoot. My mother and I have no doubt that we saw one." Now let's let's talk about the Tennessee Bigfoot. In 2022, a man filmed what is believed to be Bigfoot in Tennessee. Footage shows a huge black creature with super long arms moving about in a wooded area. Now, as ever with these things, the footage isn't exactly the clearest, but there's definitely some weird creature hanging around there. According to Bigfoot Input, the man said he first thought it was a friend playing a prank, but once he saw the length of its arms and how it moved from tree to tree, he quickly grabbed his daughter and ran back inside. He said he got out one of his weapons and a dog and went back outside, but the creature had gone. Now, the video has been shared on social media where it's gotten people baffled and questioning what it could be. One person said, "What gets me is how it grabs one tree and then stretches the other arm to grab the other. I've heard of that before. Long arms, and I noticed the broad shoulders that you'll see a Bigfoot having that a hunter in a suit does not have." Now, everyone was convinced it was Bigfoot, and I say, I have to agree. To start off, Florida Bigfoot is our next sighting. To start off the new year in 2017, a man claimed to have spotted Bigfoot. A fisherman claimed to have seen and photographed Bigfoot while it allegedly sat in a feet of the murky, swampy Hillsborough River outside of Tampa, Florida. Then, on January 25th, Matthew McCamey and his friend claimed to have seen Bigfoot while canoeing in a swamp that day in Lettuce Lake Park near Tampa, Florida. Now, perhaps they saw the same Bigfoot who was just roaming the area. Now, the two men took a canoe into one of the many swampy inlets of Lettuce Lake Park, and around 1 p.m. they heard a noise accompanied by tree movement. Matthew grabbed his phone and started videotaping. Initially, it was exciting, and it was like, "Oh, is that a bear? That's pretty cool," he said. When we moved up closer, it started to look less and less like a bear. You could tell he was slapping the water, and it looked like maybe he was grabbing something. At the time, I was just thinking, holy sh, what the hell is this? He said that his friend was so shaken by the experience that he still won't talk about it. Now, at one point in the video, the friend moved one of the canoe paddles, making a noise, which seemed to catch the attention of the hairy individual in the swamp. Matthew added, "Where the video cut off is basically where I stopped taping. We wanted to leave, and I couldn't do both video and row." Moving on to the California Bigfoot. In 2001, a youth group was camping in the Marble Mountain Wilderness, California, when their leader, Jim Mills, noticed a strange-looking creature sulking along a ridge nearby. He believed it was Bigfoot and filmed it for nearly 7 minutes, making the somewhat grainy footage the longest footage of an alleged Bigfoot sighting. The video shows Bigfoot walking down a hill, and some think this video is legit and is one of the longest known Bigfoot videos ever captured before. The video has been considered legitimate and has not been tampered with. What makes this video interesting is there were multiple witnesses, but everyone in the video is shockingly calm though, which is just like crazy to me. Now, it's unknown if this youth group returned back to this location or if anyone else was brought in to investigate there, and officially, if evidence was documented, it might have been quietly swept under the rug. Next up, we have the Canada sighting. In 2022, a video shared on the YouTube channel of the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, RSMO, shows what they claim is yet another in a long line of Bigfoot sightings. This particular footage, taken by boaters in northern Ontario, Canada, doesn't come with a lot of details. There's been a lot of Bigfoot activity in Ontario, Canada recently, and there's also a long history of Bigfoot sightings in this wild remote area recently, the person from RMSO says in the video. We have seen a lot of photos and videos of Bigfoot in the area, and here is one of the latest Bigfoot sightings captured by some boaters. Now, the commenters truly believe that the evidence is real. The ease of walking up the rocky pile and subsequent gait afterwards is not how a human walks. Very compelling, one viewer wrote. "Wow, he is huge, looks to be 8 or 10 feet tall. Scary just watching this," commented another. And last on our list, we have the traffic cam Bigfoot. A Washington Department of Transportation traffic camera near Sherman Pass captured Bigfoot standing in the snow in January 2020. Sasquatch spotted, the WSDOT Twitter account tweeted, along with 3 circled and zoomed in photos. "I'm not superstitious, just a little stitious." The WSDOT employee points out that there appears to be something in the bottom left part of the frame. "It looks like a person-shaped figure silhouetted against an evergreen tree. Might be Sasquatch," the tweet says. "We will leave that up to you." photo. Now, one image shows the figure circled in red, and the tweet also says that the photos were captured on State Road 20 Sherman Pass, a route that winds its way through the forested Cascade Mountains in the northeastern part of the state. The spot is about 70 kilometers south of the Canada-US border in Grand Forks, BC. Now, I'm sure Bigfoot didn't realize that there was a traffic cam there, and hopefully he's more careful. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the military mission. This story is one that is said to have come from a Peruvian ex-commando named Juan Carlos. He is said to have quite the resume that includes being able to survive for 11 days in the jungle with only his smarts and a small knife, and while that is certainly impressive, of course we are all here today to talk about his giant snake sighting. Juan Carlos explained that at one point in time when he was on a mission deep in the Amazon with his army unit, they encountered and subsequently shot a 40-foot long snake. He went on to explain that the leaders of the unit took the remains of the snake, which he now assumed are hanging on some officer's wall somewhere, which never allowed him to have the catch verified, but this story has only fueled his fire to once again encounter a snake of that size. Juan Carlos is absolutely certain that should he go out on an expedition, that he could find another giant snake that is over 30 feet, because he says he knows where the right places to look are. In our number 9 spot today, we have the TikTok sighting. According to the TikTok account Google Maps Fun, which is an account that shares fun or interesting things they found while searching the world through Google Maps, they seem to have found some sort of giant snake off of the coast of France. The TikTok, which was posted earlier this year, shows the images from Google Maps that seems to show a gigantic snake skeleton that the user states is, quote, about 30 meters long and bigger than any snake caught before. This of course has fueled many theories that this snake could in fact be a Titanoboa. The TikTok was circulated around the app and gained millions of views, and I can totally see why. It definitely would be a strange thing to suddenly come across while scouring satellite images. While everyone has been searching the Amazon, maybe the Titanoboa has just been in France all along. In our number 8 spot today, we have the fisherman. This is a legend that comes from long ago, and it starts off somewhere in a rainforest in Peru. Hundreds of years ago, there was a fisherman who was from a tribe that lived near what is now the modern-day city of Pucallpa. He journeyed by canoe deep into the jungle and went off the main river path by following a little inlet that led to a hidden lake. He usually took this path as he knew the hidden lake was a great spot to catch food. As he got to his spot, things were very quiet, and he knew that that meant he was going to catch enough food for everyone. As he looked for the best place to cast his net, however, something began to stir in the water. As the fisherman looked up, he saw a great head emerge from the water right in the center of the lake. He suddenly realized that it was the head of a serpent, but not just any serpent, as the head alone was the size of the entire fisherman's body. The snake stared at him as he panicked and threw himself to shore. As he ran away as fast as possible, he turned and looked over his shoulder, only to see the snake moving toward him through the water. The fisherman was lucky enough to escape the giant serpent that day, and he returned back to the village with the story, which has lived on throughout the hundreds of years it's been since. This is why it is said that giant snakes might just be seen in any river or inlet of the Peruvian Amazon. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Borneo sighting. This giant snake sighting is said to have come from a few years ago, as there was a disaster team that was monitoring floods above the island of Borneo. The team is said to have been flying overhead in a helicopter when the sighting happened, and one member thought what they were seeing was so surprising they even snapped a picture. It is said that this gigantic snake could have been around 100 feet in length, which is absolutely insane, and the story and the photo went on to spark some concern among those who live in the area. It is said that this sighting only confirmed what locals in the area have long been worried about, which is the existence of an ancient sea serpent. Some even believe that this serpent has the ability to transform itself into different forms of animals. For me, that one might be a stretch, but who am I to say for sure? In our number 6 spot today, we have the Ranger. This is a story that is said to have come from a ranger who works near the Amazon River basin. On a day where he was patrolling around the area, he saw what he estimated to be a 45-foot long anaconda. The ranger took the people that he was telling the story to where he said he saw this gigantic snake, and they all began to try and spot it again. While they were on this search, they had a young boy with them who was from the area. As they got a little downstream from where they were initially initially looking, the boy showed them another spot that he explained that he and his uncle were when they saw a giant snake that came crashing through the weeds. The pair was of course extremely startled by this sighting and got out of there as soon as they possibly could. Since then, they've been on the lookout for the giant snake, but have yet to have another sighting. Number 5. Tracks in BC. This story comes from a group of people from British Columbia in December 2022. We were returning home last night and 2 members in our vehicle said, "Look, is that a bear?" The person in the front seat saw what looked like a huge man standing on 2 legs. It bent over and fell to 4 legs. The person in the back saw the animal on the 4 legs. They both said it was not a bear. We live nearby, so when we got home, all 4 of us decided to go back and look for tracks. We went and filmed and took photos of a whole bunch of massive tracks that looked like they were from a biped animal. The tracks were bipedal in pattern and in a fairly straight line, except at points where they were side by side, as if the creature was stopping and standing still. We have also been walking in the woods near our house, and one time I saw a structure/setup of trees that looked deliberately placed in different crisscross arrangements. I also heard deep resonant sounds one night. It sounded part human, part animal. The Ohio howl matched exactly what she heard right outside her cabin, only a few hundred feet from where the sighting was. Number 4. Family witness. In 1996, this family saw Bigfoot. This user says, "My 2 daughters and I were driving into Yakima from our home in Natchez. The road runs along the Natchez River, and I looked down at the river, as I always do, to see deer or bald eagles. But this time, I saw a large dark figure at the edge of the water behind some bushes. Slamming on my brakes and backing up far enough to see the river again, the large figure was gone and nowhere to be seen. Of course, my kids said, 'Sure, Mom. Bigfoot? I don't think so.' About 2 weeks later, I was driving on the same road coming home, and about half a mile from where I thought I had seen the other one, there were 2 standing side by side just looking down at the water. One was about 1.5 feet taller than the other, both dark in color with very wide shoulders. Then about a week later, my husband was coming home. When he got home, he asked me where I thought I had seen the 2 Bigfoot. I told him, and he said that he had just seen something like I saw in the same area. He's a real skeptic, so for him to say he saw something, he must have. I look every day, and so far I have not seen my friends down by the water, but I won't give up looking. Number 3. Creature Week sighting. I was a vendor at Creature Week at Salt Fork State Park on May 4th in 2013. At 9:45 p.m., a fisherman that was in a tournament came all shook up and said, "At first I thought you were a bunch of nuts until now." He said he saw Bigfoot. This caught our attention, and the 5 of us decided to go out the next morning at 6 a.m. to check out the site. So I got there at 5 a.m. and waited, so I said I'll start without them and maybe they'll catch up with me. I started to head down the sagebrush trail and headed to where the fisherman saw them. I kept walking, and when I hit the first turn of the sagebrush trail, I heard something like talking on the ridge on my left. At first I thought it was friend A and friend B with friend A's black shirts on. So I hit a tree and yelled, "Hey guys, wait up." Then they started to walk faster and I yelled, "Very funny guys," and this is when I got a great look at them. It was 2 Bigfoots and they were black and huge. I tried to catch up with them, but once they got to the bottom of the ridge, they took off into the brush. I tried to follow them, but once they got into the brush, I could not hear or see them. But I got a great look at them. They were black as coal and the hair length was as long as a bear and well groomed. At any time they could have stopped and tore me in half, but all they wanted to do was get away as fast as possible. Number 2. Bigfoot on a highway. This family has seen Bigfoot, and the wife retold the story, saying, "In October 1997, I was returning home from work on the US Highway 241 just outside Gladstone, Michigan. I got off work at 5, picked up my kids, and my son was in the front seat with me and my daughters were in the back. We had just left Gladstone city limits on a 4-lane highway when I noticed what I thought was a hunter crouched down on the opposite side of the median of the highway. As I approached, I said to my son, 'Look at that stupid hunter, why is he just sitting there?' But as we got closer to the man, or now I say creature, stood up. It was brown colored and it crossed the highway with a couple of steps as it was on the other side of the highway within seconds. As I passed, it put its arms down to its side and stepped into the woods and it was gone. I have seen bears, deer, wolves, coyotes, almost every living creature here. My mind raced after I saw this, looking for the logical answer of what this could be, and the only thing it could have been was a Bigfoot. Then 2 days later, after I saw the creature, it was reported on the local radio station that a Bigfoot was spotted on the same highway. And coming up at number 1 is the cottage Bigfoot. This dad saw Bigfoot when his family was away at their cottage. He said, "We had been at the cottage for a few days when my sons and I heard a series of grunts, chirps, and squeals. It was fairly obvious that the sounds were coming from 2 areas about 15 degrees apart. There was also the noise of wood breaking and banging that was quite loud. We stepped out onto the deck to listen better. It was fairly obvious that one noise was getting closer to the other. The noises were really loud and it sounded like mayhem was breaking loose, trees being smacked and banging noises, shouts, and whoops. Then it went quiet really quickly, which was followed by a series of deep whooping noises and numbers, which went on intermittently past the point I went in February of this year. A woman and her husband heard strange sounds for 2 nights and laughed about how they sounded like. I thought at first it was a bear, but when a bear sits, its legs just stick out in front. Then on the 3rd night, the thing had knees and it was sitting with its knees up their property in Heflin, Alabama. I was not sure what I was seeing, so I looked away and went back at it. I was not mistaken. It had trees and was covered in hair with no net, and then slapped its hands on the rock at us from the left and the right of the tree trunk. I dismissed it as being a distortion with the trees and wind. I turned to go into the house and looked back and distinctly saw what could have been only Bigfoot running away. I yelled for my husband and he also walked into the brush behind it. There was no mistaking what we saw. Seems like Bigfoot was just trying to enjoy the view of the lake to me. Both the husband and wife said the figure must have stood approximately 8 feet tall and its fur was very dark. Was Bigfoot spying on them? Who knows? Number 9. Side of a mountain. In December 2022, TikTok user Sasquatch Project, who claims to be connecting the cryptid community, posted a video of what appears to be Bigfoot. The text on the video reads, "Real giant caught on video in Mexico." The video shows what appears to be some sort of mountain or cave. There's a hole in the side of it and there's a large man looking out. He seems to be staring at the person recording and then backs up and goes back into the rocks. Many people in the comments made jokes, but a lot of them think it's real. One user commented, "What's going to be the government's excuse for this one? The video and the zoom is on point." Others are commenting that it's like the film The Hills Have Eyes, that it's a giant or Bigfoot, but who knows? Number 8. Bigfoot hiking. In 2001, a youth group was camping in the Marble Mountain Wilderness, California, when their leader, Jim Mills, noted a strange looking creature sulking along a ridge nearby. He believed it was Bigfoot and filmed it for nearly 7 minutes, making the somewhat grainy footage the longest video of an alleged Bigfoot sighting. The video shows Bigfoot walking down a hill. The creature is huge, it's dark in color, and is walking on 2 feet, but has somewhat of a strange stride. It's definitely not human, and no animal could appear like that, so the obvious answer is it's Bigfoot. But everyone in the video is shockingly calm though, which is crazy to me. Number 7. The footprint. In 1980, locals in Johnstown, Pennsylvania were baffled by a footprint they found. They first discovered the massive print in the mud and it belonged to somebody or something's right foot. Additionally, it had 6 toes rather than 5, and the second imprint of the left foot was found 8 feet away from the right print. It was so big and they measured it, finding it was 17.75 inches long. Now, this didn't spook too many people though, because according to the Associated Press, the footprint coincided with reports of strange noises and a strong but unusual odor in the area. Again, I love how everyone was just so chill about this. Number 6. Bigfoot crossing the road. This story is from a man in Canada. He said, "I was going moose hunting and my friend was driving and we had been on the road about 9 to 10 hours going to Ignis, Ontario, and we were on the Trans-Canada Highway. This area has the bush cut back some 30 to 40 years on each side of the road when I noticed an animal coming out of the north side of a ditch area and run across a 2-lane highway. This animal ran across the road on 2 legs and was about 20 yards away. By the time it crossed the road, my friend turned to me and said, 'What the hell was that?' I said, 'Don't you know that was a Sasquatch / a Bigfoot.' It was about 6 to 7 feet tall. It had very long and muscular arms that went down to its knees. It was covered in fur that reminded me of moose hair. It looked like it was as tall or a little bit taller than the cab of the truck. It only took about 5 or 6 steps across the 2-lane highway and down to the ditch we were passing. I think it's a female because of breasts that were in the lower chest area, heavy legs and buttocks, about 300 to 400 pounds. It had less hair on the chest area and a partially covered homid face that I could see muscle definition on the arms and shoulders.
Another beefy boy, but this time he's got some red coloring unlike the usual black majority of us are used to. This video was uploaded to the channel Sasquatch Confessions, so I think the original filmer was left anonymous. From how I'm seeing it, the guy filming happened to find the Sasquatch on a trail path and had originally mistaken it for a bear, until it got up and walked away. It seemed to know he was there. I mean, yeah, you're in an open area and you're pointing a camera directly at him, I would notice you too. And then this alleged beast gets up to leave. He is quite the size. Tall? Not so much. But wide? Oh yes. He's got that moto build. Dare I say, he also looks mighty cuddly too. He looks like he's in his bulking phase for hibernation, and I can only imagine the hug I could give this thing. As for convincing me, I'm not sure, because he kind of walks away like he's a giant puppet. No arm swing, no stretching of muscles as he moves. The uploader of this video has the YouTube channel named Gulf Island Rock and titled this finding as Bigfoot Sasquatch sighting near Port Renfrew on Vancouver Island. All that's really given to us is the view of this guy's hairy gray back. Points for giving us another new color to see. Really refreshes the brain after a while of just seeing a sea of black fur. I was really waiting on something exciting for a video that was almost 2.5 minutes long. I was almost hoping the beast would turn around, see the camera guy, and just start chasing him. Something to keep the viewers engaged, you know? If it's fake, the costume design is pretty well done. It doesn't look like those cheap Party City animal outfits where you can see the plastic shine under the light. I give it a good 4 out of 5 on the cosplay aspect, but a 2 out of 10 for intriguing footage. No offense. I'm not the one to judge Bigfoot and what he consumes, but drinking water out of the swamp? You must have a gut of steel to be able to stomach that. All its dangerous organisms and probably leeches that live in there? It seems like this person was on a canoe or something trying to get this shot, because why would you dare walk bare in it? And manage to catch an alleged Bigfoot taking a sip of the yummy swamp water, and then ends up getting a little too silly and starts splashing around in the water. He's just a silly little creepy guy. If this is also some wild animal though, the person who filmed this should be considered lucky that it didn't start charging its way over. This one also seems much smaller than the other Bigfoots we've seen, because I'm always expecting a guy who's at least 10 feet with their feet bigger than my head. This is more like a medium foot from my scientific perspective. What is the sudden wave of these baby foots? We want to see big boys towering over us, whacking pine trees around like the first video. I want to be so scared that I never want to step foot into the woods again. Speaking of, these guys seem to have stumbled upon an itty bitty Sasquatch on a hike somewhere in the Provo Canyon. It doesn't seem to notice them until closer to the end of the video, where the alleged creature stands up and terrifies our crew of hikers. Yes, shaking running camera footage never fails to make the adrenaline rise. Works in every found footage horror movie. But come on guys, this thing doesn't even look that big. It doesn't even have the same muscle mass as the other monsters in this video. I'm not convinced, and I'm disappointed. Show me the big back boys! Here we go, some more big backs. But sadly, this clip is so short, I am unable to fully be immersed in this experience with the uploader. I will give props though that the atmosphere setup for this footage is perfect. We got the fog, we got the cloudy sky that's making it look darker, and we got the snow that reminds us about all the absolute decay that surrounds us. Perfect Yeti footage. This guy looks like a giant snowball because of his round shape and white fur. Another Bigfoot to add onto my list for cuddling. For once, I gotta say I wish this video was a bit more clear. You did a bit too much on the scuff for this one. I can't even make out what the creature is doing to even describe it to y'all. Is it bent over? Is it making snowballs to hurl at you? But I will say, get the heck out of the open area. You are leaving yourself too vulnerable for these things to come and grab you, which you thankfully seem to realize at the end when you freak out and run away, as you should.
Number 10. Strange sounds. A Bigfoot sighting became a federal investigation when a man fired his weapon inside a national park in Kentucky. Brad Ginn told news outlets he and his girlfriend were camping nearby and were awakened at about 1 a.m. by a man with his son. We got out of the tent and saw a man who told us their campsite had been destroyed by someone or something. The man, who was with his young son, showed them his weapon on his hip and told him the area was popular for Bigfoot sightings. The couple climbed back into their tent as the man walked away to investigate with his son in tow. We heard them coming back about 10 minutes later. We heard them yelling, "I see it," Brad said. We saw a flash from his weapon, and he shot maybe 20 yards from the side of our tent into the pitch black darkness. After this, Brad and his girlfriend decided to leave and report the incident, which was the smart thing to do. A park spokeswoman, Molly Schwarr, said there was an investigation and that the park was safe to visit. The statement did not confirm a Bigfoot sighting, but Molly said that no threat remains in the park. Federal regulations prohibit the discharge of a firearm in the national park, and park officials know the identity of the person who allegedly fired the weapon, but no charges had been filed. Number 9. Thrown logs. In 2015, a pair of Bigfoot hunters were hot on the trail of a Bigfoot outside Houston, Texas. While following the beast, they realized the creature was unhappy with their presence. As they began their overnight hunt, the lead investigator realized that something was throwing full-sized logs at them from the tree line. That's according to Wes Germer, host of the Sasquatch Chronicle podcast, whose team ventured into the East Texas piney woods. In the early night, the noise came. We heard this thing crash through the bush, and then we heard this thing start crashing, just crash, 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 and you can hear it walking, and you can hear it breaking branches as it's going. Then the giant bolted off and plowed fiercely through the dense brush with astonishing speed. This thing moved so fast, it probably covered 150 yards like nothing. As we neared the spot where we heard the beast lurking, a noise grew and I knew what it was. It was a log coming, and it was a big log, and you could hear it being thrown. And I ducked down because I thought for sure it was going to hit us, but it hit the tree right in front of us, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. Wes says it was a warning, and that it wasn't the only time Sasquatch has thrown logs at unwelcomed intruders. Number 8. New footprint. In March 2022, in Big Sur, California, a hiker spotted a very large footprint. They took a picture of it next to their own foot for perspective and shared it on Reddit's Bigfoot page, where commenters discussed if they felt the print belonged to a Sasquatch or if it was nothing. And there were plenty of believers. One person wrote, "This is the first imprint I have seen that isn't clearly a bear. Good find." While another stated, "I wish the print was more fresh, but it really does look more like a Bigfoot track," and a third chimed in, "What a solid print." Someone else added, "Definitely Sasquatch. The upper foot impressions is relative to the lower width and diameter of depth." I'd reached out to the local Bresto Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization in your area ASAP. Now, it honestly does look huge, and to me, you can even see the toe prints. Seems pretty convincing to me. Number 7. Bigfoot eats hogs. East Texas is the home to many reported sightings of Bigfoot, including one particular encounter from a hunter in Panola County. The witness claims that while he was hog hunting, he watched a Sasquatch leap out of the woods and grabbed one of the hogs. The report states that the Bigfoot began making loud whooping noises, which were met with more howls from somewhere off in the distance. Before walking back into the woods, the creature stared directly at the hunter and growled. Seemed like the hunter got a little too close to Bigfoot territory. Now, those whooping sounds would definitely creep me out, especially if there were more coming from the forest. Ugh. Number 6. Face to face. One of the 3 Midland County Bigfoot encounters documented details of a witness discovering an ape-like creature on the first day of hunting season in 1997. The witness claims to have seen the legendary creature on November 15th, 1997, while driving in a wooded area near Coleman on Coleman Road, about 6 miles north of M20. They said, "I was driving north around 6:45 and saw a creature coming out of the ditch." The report describes the creature as having a flat, ape-like face and hair on its arms and head. The witness claims to have come within 10 feet of the creature when it looked at the witness. As the witness got closer to the beast, it made eye contact with him before disappearing into the trees, and that is terrifying. In our number 5 spot today we have the Huntsman. This story starts off many years ago and it takes place in Peru. It is said that here a local huntsman went into the jungle in search of some game to feed his family. As he was on the hunt for food, the weather began to change and suddenly the sky began to get darker. He started a fire, but upon doing so, it is said that he felt the earth begin to shake, sort of like a small earthquake. This led to him putting out the fire. The following day, he was cutting through thick areas of the forest when he struck a large ancient tree trunk that he said was about 60 meters tall and blocking his path. At the base of this trunk, however, he then noticed a deer just standing there, which is obviously odd. As the hunter began to walk towards the deer, it suddenly disappeared into the base of the trunk. This is when the hunter suddenly understood that this is no tree. The trunk is the body of a giant serpent, and at the base there is a gigantic gaping mouth that is attached to a head that has red glowing eyes and horn-like ears. The hunter slowly backed away, realizing that the earth rumbling he felt the night before was likely the serpent being startled at the lighting of the fire. He evaded death because although he mistakenly struck the giant snake, it thankfully hadn't noticed, and without the deer there, he possibly wouldn't have even realized what was really going on. The huntsman was able to make it out of there and was sure to pass the story on when he returned home. This is the story or the legend of the Sashamama, which has been around for centuries. Many believe that the tales of this creature were in fact inspired by the very real existence of the Titanoboa. In our number 4 spot today we have Percy's sighting. Percy Fawcett is a famous explorer who is best known for his search for the lost city of Z, but he is also known for his alleged Titanoboa sighting. In 1906, it is said that he was traveling through the Amazon River when he came across a gigantic snake. He didn't even only claim to see it though, he also claimed that he shot it. He said the snake was 65 feet long and that it was at least 1 foot in diameter. After his alleged shot, it is said that the snake sunk back down into the water and out of sight of the explorer. No one is quite sure of what happened to this gigantic snake after its encounter with Percy, but he is said to have had no doubts over what exactly he saw in the river that day. In our number 3 spot today we have tunnels. There were a couple of adventurers or explorers or whatever you want to call them who went to Peru in search of the Titanoboa. As part of their research, they of course spent time speaking with those local to the area so as to hear their stories of the giant snake in the hopes of maybe getting some insider info on where they could find it. They explained that one night when they camped at a village on the Samaria River, they spent an entire evening listening to these types of stories and they were absolutely astounded. One person explained seeing a 60-foot-long snake that was half in the water and half out. After hearing this story, it is said that an elder from the village explained that the giant snakes use underground tunnels in order to move between lakes, which is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever heard, but this could explain why, should the Titanoboa still exist, it is rarely ever seen. In our number 2 spot today we have the duo. In 2009, a man named Mark Warner and his son Greg traveled from Northern Ireland to the Amazon basin in search of this gigantic snake that legends are made of. They were determined to capture evidence of its existence and they assembled a team and set out on a mission to prove it. They surveyed their selected areas through aerial views and set off on their adventure. After 12 days in the jungle, surviving through intense weather and taking hundreds of photos and videos, it is said that they did end up capturing a photo of what they claimed to be a huge snake, bigger than any other, measuring around 40 meters or 131 feet long and 2 meters or 6 feet wide. That is an unbelievable size. Many people of course have been a bit suspicious about these claims, but the pair are determined to head back out on another expedition to capture the creature again. It seems as though we might just have to wait again to see if the pair really can pull it off. In our number 1 spot today we have the Maine Monster. This is a snake sighting that comes from Maine and it has been confusing people ever since. Originally posted on the Facebook page of the Westbrook Police Department, they wrote, quote, "We have received a legitimate report concerning a very large snake present at the Riverbank Park. The report was the snake is as long as a truck and the head the size of a soccer ball. The snake was reportedly observed on the riverbank to the rear of the playground on both the Main Street and Brown Street side of the river." Okay. Definitely not what anyone in the neighborhood wants to hear, especially not from the police page itself, but things only went on to get more concerning. A few days later, an update was posted to the page that included a photo. This photo showed a huge shed snakeskin that looked as though it was shed quite recently. Any snake that thing belongs to has got to be too large for comfort. This went on to create quite a local legend, and rumors about what this humongous creature could be began to spread. While this may not be the largest snake on this list, the proof of its existence certainly is chilling. It is said that people even tested the skin to see what kind of snake it belonged to, and rumor has it that there was in fact some Titanoboa DNA found.
I'm not gonna lie, this is impressive, fake or not. The everyday person is not able to lift a 30 to 50 pound pine tree like that and swing it over its head. Unless someone was purposely training in the gym like that with a barbell, which is roughly the same weight, but this thing picks it up like it's a baseball bat, swings it up and brings it down hard on another stack of branches. I was watching this video and was feeling a little anxious myself. When it looks at the camera, that's where it kind of loses me, because it looks a little too human-like, but has one of the most intense stares I've ever seen, as it locks eyes with us down the barrel of the camera. I couldn't tell you why he's ripping up the forest like this. You know, maybe he's building a little nest to attract some pretty female Bigfoot tests. Even at the end, this guy's height is quite huge, and he's standing next to pine trees. I'm not good at measuring by eye, so I'm gonna leave y'all to figure that one out. Overall, very entertaining video, despite it possibly being fake, because I was impressed by the raw strength. Ain't nothing like the comfort of driving in the middle of the night on a road that's covered in snow, making it even more difficult to even attempt at trying to drive away if something came after you. Thankfully, nothing does for these guys, who apparently spotted a Yeti, which is a part of the same family as a Bigfoot, fun fact, in Russia. This was all caught on camera with their dash cam, and on their drive, spotted, at least what it appears to me, a man ran and jumped over a snowbank, crossed the road, and into the darkness whence it came. This one doesn't appear as tall as the one in the first video, and it looks to be around my height. Maybe a younger Yeti? If my height is considered to be an average height of a baby Yeti, I'm going to scream. I think it's clear though that this wasn't CGI at least, because as they get closer to where they spotted the monster, we even get to see the footprints it left behind. At first, it looks like they didn't even realize the footprints were there until they stopped the car and reversed themselves to get a better look. Personally, that's an interesting little thing to have, because the majority of fake videos would either end at the sighting, but adding in such a natural human gesture like that of taking a double take of the footprints just seemed really intriguing to me. It just feels right to include more of the Yeti Bigfoot in these videos due to it being December and around Christmas time. The clip is pretty straightforward. We see what appears to be a white speck make its way across the side of a cliff at a pretty decent speed, and not the usual tempo that people struggle with while their feet are being absolutely vacuumed by the frozen water beneath them. The creators of this video also included some interesting footage of the supposed footprints around the area where it was seen. But this is where it loses me, because when they zoom in on the prints, sure, they look pretty cool at first, but footprints don't usually appear like they're walking on a tightrope. You gotta stagger them, not make them completely straight. I will give you props though, because I'm finding it difficult to how you would have managed to pull it off without leaving any prints yourself. Drone mayhaps?
Number 5. Bigfoot likes children. This user tells a story of seeing Bigfoot as a child. They said, "I've had 2 separate sightings here in central Alabama, once when I was about 5 and another when I was 19. The first one, I was at my Nana's house playing outside in a treehouse my dad and Pa built for me, and I looked off into the woods and saw a large light brown bipedal creature standing there watching me. So I ran inside to get my Nana, and when we came back out to the treehouse, it was gone. The second time, me and my wife were coming back from a buddy's house real late at night, and I saw something large cross on 2 legs in front of a yellow road sign up ahead. These signs were about 10 feet tall, and this thing covered the whole sign when I walked in front of it. Now, many people believe that Bigfoot likes children. While many don't think they actually eat children, they think they might try to kidnap them to keep as pets, as they like to watch kids for the same reason people like to watch kittens or puppies playing, and there's a similar urge to take one home with them. Number 4. Falling Bigfoot. Bigfoot has been reportedly spotted in Colorado more than 100 times in recent years, including one notable daylight spotting that occurred in Summit County, Colorado. In the summer of 2019, a daytime hiker was taking a break near an old log cabin in the area of Mayflower Gulch near Frisco when he spotted something strange at about 11,000 feet of elevation. He reported seeing a large bipedal creature attempting and failing to climb a 20-foot high snow wall. After the failed attempt at scaling the barrier, the creature moved on and out of sight. The hiker was joined by 2 others and they searched the area. During this search, the group was able to locate prints in the snow, including large handprints and footprints. That being said, they were unable to again locate the actual creature. The report prompted Bigfoot Field Research Organization investigator Scott Miles to further look into the report. Scott decided to meet up with the witness at the site of the spotting. At the scene, the witness was able to recount the sighting in a manner consistent with the initial report, pointing out exact landmarks involved in his story. After deeper analysis of the witness's account, Scott said, "I believe that the witness saw exactly what he reported and was witness to a Sasquatch, probably a young individual that accidentally or naively got caught in a compromising situation in the daytime in a fairly high traffic area." Number 3. In the swamp. In 2015, 2 men canoeing in Tampa, Florida swamp were expecting to see an alligator when they heard rustling on the bank. They soon realized that the creature they were watching was no alligator. One of the men said, "Initially, it was exciting. It was like, oh, is that a bear? That's pretty cool." But when we moved closer, it started to look less and less like a bear. In that moment, I was looking at it and getting a little bit freaked out, especially once it started really moving. You could tell that he was slapping the water, and it looked like maybe he was grabbing something. At the time, I was thinking, holy what the hell is this? By the time it walked off, my buddy was just like, let's go now. The friend moved one of the canoe paddles making a noise, which seemed to catch the attention of the hairy individual in the swamp. I don't know if it was a coincidence that it started moving because of the noise, but it seemed to know that we were there. He said his friend was so shaken by the experience that he won't talk about it. Number 2. His face. This user describes what they saw when they came face to face with Bigfoot. They saw the beast in early spring 1994 or 95 in Salt Fork State Park in Ohio, Hazak's Cave. I hope I said that right. He said, "The one I saw had black sclera, the white part of her eyes, and cheek pads like a male orangutan. It was not a man in a suit. It threw rocks at me as I hiked a path towards a small waterfall, and I was a little confused but oblivious. The last rock was bigger and hit me in the calf and hurt. I spun around quickly towards the direction it came from, yelling, 'That really hurt,' thinking it was somebody messing with me, and saw a head from the eyes looking up over a fallen tree or ridge maybe 15 feet away. It looked like an orangutan wearing a ghillie suit. I looked in the eyes for maybe 5 seconds trying to comprehend what I was looking at. Golden brown eyes with black sclera and cheek pads like a male orangutan. It didn't look malicious really, had more of an okay, you got the point look. It casually turned its eyes away and ducked back behind the tree or ridge. Then I realized what I saw and got back to my car. All I could think was that because of his cheek pads, he was the dominant male of the troop. They must have been at the water source that I was hiking towards, and he was keeping me from getting closer. I was maybe 3/4 of the way there, but the smaller rock started at about the halfway point and got gradually bigger until I caught on. I told my brother and best friend, and they didn't believe me, so I dropped or suppressed it for 20 years. I didn't think of it again until I saw a Bigfoot toy and thought they got the face wrong. And coming in at number 1 is the traffic cam sighting. A Washington Department of Transportation traffic camera near Sherman Pass captured Bigfoot standing in the snow in January 2020. At least one person at the Washington State Department of Transportation seems to think they saw Bigfoot after tweeting out some puzzling images captured by one of the department's webcams. "Sasquatch spotted," the Department East Twitter account tweeted, along with 3 circled and zoomed in photos. "I'm not superstitious, just a little suspicious. The employee points out that there appears to be something in the bottom left part of the frame. It looks like a person-shaped figure silhouetted against an evergreen tree. Might be Sasquatch, we will leave that up to you, the tweet said. The tweet also says that the photos were captured on State Road 20 Sherman Pass, a route that winds its way through the forested Cascade Mountains in the northeastern part of the state. The spot is about 70 kilometers south of the Canada-US border in Grand Forks, BC. Honestly, I think it could be Bigfoot. It looks convincing.